Everything is falling apart, and it's happening faster than anyone expected. Belly thought planning her wedding would be a dream, but episode 5 of The Summer I Turned Pretty Season 3 proves it's turning into something else entirely. A complete emotional storm. And right in the center of it, Conrad. Yes, the same Conrad who promised to support his brother and be his best man is now slipping back into Belly's heart in ways no one can ignore anymore. This episode wasn't just emotional, it was explosive. Every conversation, every glance, every unspoken feeling just added more fuel to the fire. Belly and Jeremiah might be engaged, but the cracks are finally starting to show. So what's really happening? Is the wedding still on? Or has Conrad's presence changed everything for good? Let's break down all the tension, heartbreak, and hidden feelings in episode 5, starting with the moment that flipped everything upside down. So, remember that scene in episode 4? Conrad baking Belly a birthday cake and choosing to stay instead of taking that job offer? Well, in episode 5, we finally see the aftermath of that decision, and trust me, the air in the house is so thick with tension, you could slice through it. Belly wakes up to find Conrad already out early, doing errands. He's being kind, thoughtful, and incredibly present. Exactly what you'd want in a partner. But the problem is, he's not her partner. Jeremiah is. And Jeremiah? He's starting to notice just how big of a shadow Conrad is casting. The moment Jeremiah walks into the kitchen and sees the cake leftovers, his smile drops. He plays it cool, even makes a joke, but you can tell something's off. He knows Conrad stayed. He knows he's around Belly way more than expected. And more than anything, he knows that Belly is smiling a little too much when Conrad is around. Later in the episode, Jeremiah and Belly try to finalize some wedding stuff. Guest list, venue details, even honeymoon ideas, but every time they sit down to plan, it's awkward. There's hesitation. Belly seems distracted. Jeremiah's trying to stay chill, but his tone is getting sharper. He even asks, "Did you already talk to Conrad about this?" And that's where things start to shift. Belly pauses. She doesn't lie, but she also doesn't give Jeremiah the reassurance he's looking for. It's clear she talked to Conrad, maybe even had a better time planning things with him than with Jeremiah. And this is where the emotional confusion really kicks in. Belly is doing her best to stay committed. She tells herself this is just wedding stress. But deep down, she knows it's not that simple. Her moments with Conrad feel easier. Natural. She's laughing more. She's feeling more. And even though she's trying to focus on Jeremiah, her heart isn't cooperating. Meanwhile, Conrad is playing it cool, or at least pretending to. He's avoiding deep talks, keeping things light, but every time he looks at Belly, it's clear he's holding something back. There's a scene where Belly asks him if he's okay being the best man, and he smiles and says, "Of course." But the way he says it, you just know it's killing him inside. He's trying so hard to be the good guy, to support Jeremiah, to stay in control. But his love for Belly is starting to leak through every crack. The most painful part? Conrad isn't doing anything wrong. He's not stealing moments. He's not flirting. He's just being there. And that alone is enough to shake everything. By the middle of the episode, Jeremiah finally reaches his breaking point. He pulls Conrad aside and asks him straight up, "Why are you here, man? You said you were leaving?" And Conrad, in true Conrad fashion, says something like, "Because Belly was crying. I couldn't just leave her like that." He doesn't apologize. He doesn't back down. And that's the moment Jeremiah realizes the truth. Conrad is still in love with Belly, and he's not over her, not even close. This confrontation doesn't explode, but it simmers. And that simmering tension is now sitting between all three of them, making every interaction more awkward, more painful, and more uncertain. Back in Belly's world, things aren't much easier. She tries to reach out to Laurel again, texts her, even calls, but Laurel still hasn't come around. The silence from her mom is starting to hurt more than Belly expected. And every time she sees Conrad being supportive or thoughtful, she starts to wonder, would Laurel have approved of this wedding? Would she have supported me if I chose him instead? So now Belly is stuck. Jeremiah is pulling away, Laurel isn't speaking to her. And Conrad? He's staying quiet, but showing up in every way that matters. This episode makes one thing painfully clear. The wedding isn't falling apart because of some dramatic fight or scandal. It's falling apart because deep down, the bride might not be sure she's marrying the right person. And that's just the beginning. In the next section, we'll dive into the secret that might finally push Laurel to speak, and the shocking move Belly makes that could change everything. So just when things were already tense in Cousins, episode 5 takes a sharp emotional turn. One that starts not at the beach house, but miles away with Laurel. After days of complete silence, after ignoring Belly's texts and calls, Laurel finally reaches out, but not with a sweet message or a heartfelt apology. Instead, Belly gets an unexpected email, short, cold, and direct. Laurel writes, "You've made your decision. I hope you understand the consequences. I won't be attending the wedding." That's it. No, "I love you." No, "Let's talk." Just a wall. And Belly? She completely breaks down. The second she reads it, her face drops. It's like the last bit of strength she had just crumbled, because no matter how much she pretends to be confident about the wedding, the truth is, she wanted her mom there. She needed that blessing. Even when they disagreed, Laurel was always Belly's emotional anchor. And now she's completely absent. Taylor finds her crying in the guest room and tries to comfort her, but Belly's not even sure what she's crying about anymore. Is it the email? Is it Conrad baking that cake? Is it Jeremiah pulling away? Or is it everything, all at once? That's when Taylor tells Belly something that changes the whole vibe of the episode. You're marrying someone you love, but are you marrying the right person? Belly freezes. She doesn't answer. She can't. And Taylor doesn't press further, but that question lingers. Later that evening, while everyone's in the living room planning the wedding playlist, Belly sneaks away and calls Laurel one last time. This time, her mom actually picks up. And the conversation? It's raw, honest, painful. In The Summer I Turned Pretty, Season 3, Episode 5, Belly pleads with her mom to understand. She says, "I love him. We've been through so much. I just want to start a life with someone who makes me feel safe." But Laurel responds with brutal honesty. "You don't get married to feel safe, Isabel. You get married when you're sure. Are you sure? Because from where I'm standing, all I see is a girl running away from heartbreak into the arms of a boy who once broke her, too." The phone goes quiet. Belly has no answer. And that silence says everything. After the call, something shifts in Belly. You can see it in the way she moves, the way she talks. It's like she's second-guessing every decision. She starts going through old photos, some with Jeremiah, but mostly with Susanna, Laurel, Conrad, the people who grounded her, the people she loved before everything got complicated. Meanwhile, back in the house, Jeremiah's on edge. His internship isn't going well. His boss just gave him a warning about being too distracted. And now he's spiraling. He confronts Belly again, but this time it's different. He doesn't just accuse her of being distant. He actually admits how insecure he feels. He says, "I feel like I'm losing you, and I haven't even married you yet." Belly reassures him, tries to smile, tells him she's just stressed. But Jeremiah's eyes say it all. He knows something's changed. He doesn't know what, but he feels it. Then comes the moment that sets the stage for everything else in the episode. A group trip to finalize some wedding logistics in town. Belly, Jeremiah, Taylor, Stephen, and, yes, Conrad. The drive starts off awkward but civil, and things stay that way until the group splits up. Belly and Conrad end up at the florist alone, while the others check out the venue. And this is where the emotional suspense really builds. At the florist, Conrad is quiet, helping Belly pick colors. He doesn't say much, but then Belly asks him something out of nowhere. "Would you have stayed if things were different between us?" Conrad looks at her. Long pause. Then he says, "I never wanted to leave in the first place." That moment is heavy. It's not dramatic, it's not loud, but it says everything. They don't hug, they don't touch, but the look they exchange is more intimate than any kiss. When they return to the group, everything feels off. Jeremiah sees Belly smile at Conrad, and you can tell he saw it too, that unspoken thing that's starting to grow again. The group heads back to the beach house, and everyone tries to act like it's all fine. But it's not. That moment at the florist is still hanging in the air. And then, just before the episode ends, Laurel sends one more message, this time to Conrad. She's confused. She needs someone who'll be honest with her, even if it hurts. If you still love her, don't stay silent. That's where episode 5 leaves us. With a letter that could change everything. With Conrad holding back. With Belly caught between two futures. And with Jeremiah slowly realizing he might not be the one she's choosing anymore. So now the pressure is officially unbearable. Laurel's message to Conrad, that last line, if you still love her, don't stay silent, becomes the emotional trigger that pushes everything into motion in episode 5's second half. And what makes it even more intense? Conrad is torn, deeply, painfully, completely torn between doing what's right and doing what's real. Conrad has already made 1,000 silent sacrifices. He baked the cake. He stayed. He agreed to be Jeremiah's best man. He's been there for Belly, present, helpful, caring, all without crossing any lines. But now, Laurel's message gives him something he hasn't had this whole time. Permission. Permission to stop pretending. And that permission? It changes how Conrad looks at everything. He doesn't rush into some dramatic confession. That's not his style. Instead, he begins to drop the mask. In little moments, quiet conversations, lingering glances, subtle emotional slips, he lets Belly see what he's been hiding. And Belly, already in emotional chaos, starts seeing it clearly now. It starts with something small. A late-night walk. Belly can't sleep. She steps out on the porch, and there he is, sitting alone, thinking. She sits beside him. For a while, they just stare at the stars. Then Conrad says softly, "Do you ever think about how it all started?" Belly doesn't answer, but she doesn't need to. This isn't about nostalgia. It's about longing, about all the moments they buried, all the words they never said. And in that silence, Belly realizes something. She never stopped loving him either. She just covered it, buried it. Because loving Conrad was always messy, and Jeremiah felt safe. But now, with the wedding inching closer and Laurel's absence louder than ever, the truth is breaking through the surface. She's still in love with Conrad, and that truth is starting to terrify her. Meanwhile, Jeremiah is unraveling. At first, in the Summer I Turned Pretty Season 3, Episode 5, he tries to play it cool. He jokes around. He focuses on the wedding playlist. He texts Belly cute memes. But when he notices her avoiding long talks, hesitating before responding and spending more time away from him, he starts to panic. He asks Steven straight up, "Do you think she still loves him?" Steven doesn't answer. He just sighs. And that's all Jeremiah needs to hear. Now, Jeremiah's insecurities are boiling. He starts to question everything. Why did Conrad stay? Why did Belly smile like that at the florist? Why does it feel like she's slipping away? And the jealousy? It starts creeping in, subtly, then obviously. There's a moment where Conrad and Belly are laughing about something from their past, something small, a story from cousins that only they remember. Jeremiah walks in and sees it, and for a split second, he snaps. He doesn't yell. He doesn't make a scene. But he says just loud enough for Belly to hear, "Glad I could join your little memory lane party." Belly turns. The smile drops. Conrad looks away. That's when it starts to sink in. This isn't a love triangle anymore. It's a slow, emotional implosion, one that no one is ready for. And just as things are getting tense at the house, Belly makes a bold decision. She visits her mom. Not for approval, not for reconciliation, but for clarity. She shows up at Laurel's house unexpectedly, and the moment Laurel opens the door, it's clear this isn't a fight anymore. It's a cry for help. Belly says, "I don't know what I'm doing. I thought I did, but I don't. And I need you to tell me if I'm running away from something, or if I'm making the right choice." Laurel, now calmer, simply says, "You already know the answer. You've just been afraid to say it out loud." They sit together, talk, not as mother and daughter, but as two women who've both made painful choices in love. Laurel doesn't tell Belly what to do, but she says one thing that sticks. Don't marry someone just because they love you. Marry someone because you can't imagine a life without them. That line echoes in Belly's head as she drives back to Cousins. And when she returns, the house is quiet. Jeremiah's asleep. Conrad's out back, staring at the ocean. She doesn't say anything. She just walks up beside him. And in that silence, one thing becomes very clear. The wedding is still on, but it's standing on the edge of a cliff. And the only thing holding it together is confusion. Everything that was bubbling beneath the surface finally explodes in The Summer I Turned Pretty. Season 3, Episode 5. And not with a dramatic scream or a public fight, but with the kind of quiet, heartbreaking truth that hits harder than any outburst. The final act of Episode 5 pulls no punches. Emotions are raw, choices are unavoidable, and the wedding, well, it may still technically be happening, but emotionally, it's already falling apart. Let's start with the moment Belly finally lets her guard down. After that conversation with Laurel, after days of pushing through confusion and guilt, she finally admits, out loud, to someone other than herself, she's not sure anymore. It happens while she and Conrad are sitting on the back steps of the house. It's late. Everyone else is asleep. The ocean is calm, but Belly's chest is anything but. She looks at him, tears barely held back, and says quietly, "Do you ever wish we tried harder?" Conrad doesn't answer right away. You can see it in his eyes. He's scared to say yes, but even more scared to lie. So he just nods. Yes. And then Belly whispers, "I never stopped thinking about what we could have been. Even with Jeremiah. Even now." That's the moment. That's the emotional confession we've been waiting for. Not loud, not dramatic, but real. Honest. Devastating. She's admitting to herself, and to Conrad, that the love she tried so hard to bury isn't gone. It never was. And Conrad? He doesn't kiss her. He doesn't pull her in. He just says, "Then why are you marrying him?" The silence after that question is unbearable, because Belly doesn't have an answer. She stands up, walks inside, doesn't look back. The next morning, everything is different. Jeremiah senses the shift immediately. Belly is quiet, distant. She's not even pretending anymore. And during breakfast, when he hands her the wedding invitations and asks if she wants to send them out together, she pauses. Too long. He watches her carefully and asks, "Are you still in this?" Belly tries to fake a smile, tries to nod, but he knows. He knows it in his gut. Something's changed. And when she doesn't respond right away, his voice hardens just slightly. "Did he say something to you?" And here it comes. The heartbreak. Belly looks down. Her voice shakes. "No, he didn't say anything. I did." Jeremiah goes still. "What did you say?" Another pause, and then she says the words he was afraid to hear. "I told him I still think about him." The air goes cold. Jeremiah doesn't yell. He doesn't cry. He just quietly stands up and walks out of the room. And in that moment, you can see it in Belly's eyes. This wedding might not survive the next episode. The rest of the day is a blur. Tension fills every corner of the house. Taylor and Steven try to act normal, but they feel it too. No one's smiling anymore. The light, summery atmosphere of Cousins has been replaced by silence and side eyes. No music, no laughter, Just awkward glances and the sinking feeling that something is coming. And then comes the final scene, one that seals the emotional chaos of episode 5. Belly walks outside, hoping for air, and finds Conrad once again sitting alone, almost exactly where he was the night before. She sits beside him, knees pulled up to her chest. For a long time, they don't say anything. And then Conrad finally speaks. I thought staying was the right thing, that I could handle it. But I was wrong. Belly turns to him, confused. He continues, watching you marry him, it's breaking me. I thought I could stand by and just be happy for you, but I can't pretend anymore. And that's it. The moment that changes everything. Conrad, finally, says it. I still love you, Belly. I never stopped. The screen fades to black. No music, no closure, just the sound of waves crashing and hearts shattering. That's how episode 5 ends. Now everything is hanging by a thread in The Summer I Turned Pretty. Season 3, Episode 5. Belly's torn between two brothers. Jeremiah has finally heard the one thing he was dreading. And Conrad? He's finally let go of the silence, but maybe too late. So, is the wedding still on? Or is it the beginning of something else? You tell me. Drop your theories, your heartbreak, and your Team Conrad versus Team Jeremiah emotions in the comments, because this story is far from over.